Hello and welcome to the 2021 F1 in Schools Regional Finals. You join us here for the Scotland event. My name's Mark and this is Nelson Vale.
Hi everyone.
And we have got one fun-packed show coming up for you guys today. Let's find out what is coming up. First of all, Nels, we're going to meet the teams. We're going to find out a little bit more about the teams, find out where they're from, and I think they're also going to say hello to us as well. So we're going to see and hear from the teams. We've got a special message then from SSERC, one of our regional coordinators and a sponsor and supporter of F1 in Schools in Scotland. We've got a couple of studio experts with us today from former world finalists, actually, and national champions, here to have a quick look at the teams and give their verdict on what they see this year from the Scotland regional finals. Now, Nelson, bottom of the list there, the one you've been waiting for.
Racing.
It's the racing. It's the racing. We're going to be seeing all the cars race head to head down our 20-metre track. How exciting. If you're joining us for the first time, or this is the first time you've done F1 in Schools, you might be wondering what it's all about. Well, here's a little video just to help you find out a bit more.
What is F1 in Schools?
F1 in Schools is a global STEM challenge, working with industry partners to provide an exciting and challenging educational experience. A group of 3 to 6 students form a team, think of a name, allocate job roles, and start to design their miniature Formula 1 car of the future. The teams follow a systematic engineering design process to manufacture and race their cars, making sure they comply with a comprehensive set of technical regulations. To do this, they use professional CAD software, like Autodesk Fusion 360, and manufacture their car components using CNC machines. Once the cars are painted and assembled, they take to the track to race. Powered by compressed gas along a 20-metre racetrack, the cars are capable of speeds over 75 km per hour. The racing is fast and exciting, but there is more to the challenge, as it inspires learning not only in STEM subjects, but wider skills including project management, marketing, teamwork, innovation and communication. These wider skills are assessed by judges from education and industry. At competitions, the teams submit their cars and portfolios and also give a project presentation. F1 in Schools operates globally from ages 9 to 19, with teams taking part in school, regional and national level competitions. With the winners progressing at each stage, only the very best make it through to the World Finals. F1 in Schools is a life-changing experience for all involved, with many success stories of competitors who've come through F1 in Schools and have gone on to achieve significant outcomes in their lives. For some, that means working in Formula 1, where the experience of F1 in Schools serves as the ideal grounding for the challenges and demands of elite-level competition.
God, good stuff. Great to see a little bit more about the real story of F1 in Schools there, Nels. It's probably a good time to introduce our studio guests. We're joined here, as I said, today by two really quite experienced former competitors in Molly and Louise. Girls, hello, welcome.
Hi.
You happy to be here? Excited?
We're so excited, yeah.
Yeah, had a look at the teams. I mean, what do you make of the teams just in a real quick summary? Are you excited about what you've seen?
It's amazing, yeah. It's real, it looks so much more professional than stuff that we might have seen in the past. It's amazing to see all the different new ideas.
Wow, okay, well, high praise, building the teams up a bit, but let's see what they've got. I think it's time probably to meet the teams now. Shall we find out who's competing in the Scotland Regional Finals? Yes, we shall. Let's load them up and see on the grid who's competing. So we've got in the development class, Vortex, the Flying Scots, Astray, and Haste. And then in the professional class, we've got Iconic Racing, Fibonacci, Enhanced Racing, Paxson Fusion, and Phoenix Racing. I mean, Nels, that was us reading some team names out. Shall we hear the teams read their own names out, maybe? Can we? Let's see the teams.
Hello, we're Vortex.
And we are Iconic Racing.
Hello, we are Fibonacci. We are Enhanced Racing.
Hi, we're Paxson Fusion.
And we're the Flying Scots from Moneyfield High School.
Impassioned delivery there from the teams. Great to see the teams in such a strange year, Nels.
Yes, definitely. I mean, first of all, I think they all deserve a big congratulations just because with these troubled times we've been living, I mean, it's a massive achievement just to be competing.
Absolutely.
So they have done it, and many others didn't have a chance, so congratulations to them all.
It's a massive achievement to get this far, and I think before we even see a single car race on track, should we give the teams a massive round of applause?
So.
From all of us in the studio, well done everybody! Thoroughly well deserved. And it is great to see you all competing this year. Now, Nelson, it's exciting to be in Scotland. It's one of the trips we look forward to the most because obviously Scotland is not our home territory. We're normally based down in England, here in Yorkshire. So just to commemorate this little milestone,
I actually love
I bought you a little present.
Haggis there.
I bought you a present, but it's not haggis. Oh no! I bought you a little gift. This is the national drink of Scotland, Nelson. This is Iron Brew.
Can you believe they have never tasted Iron Brew?
Well, I can believe this, yes, because you're Portuguese and you probably don't go for this kind of thing. But this is, it's an interesting drink. It's a health tonic.
Right, first time live.
You know what they say this is made from, Nelson? In fact, girls, you probably know this. This is made from trimmings of Mr. Marshall's beard. It's brewed specifically.
Good.
Yeah, it's all right. Anyway, there you go, Nelson. Just
But I think I'm going to go Cristiano Ronaldo on it. Some water, maybe the best choice.
True Portuguese, very good. Anyway, moving swiftly on, we've got a little message from one of our supporters. F1 in Schools, of course, couldn't operate without the support of individuals and organisations all around the country, in fact all around the world, and Scotland is no exception. So here with a little message from from SSERC for the teams, with a little bit of a surprise as well, is Graham.
Hi everyone, my name is Graham and I am the Head of STEM Programmes at SSERC, and I'm part of the Young STEM Leader project team. We want to take the opportunity to say to you congratulations and well done on reaching the regional finals, and we wish you the very best of luck going forward in the programme. What you may not know is that we've been working closely with the staff at F1 in Schools to align our programme to yours. And what we want to do in the not too distant future is to be back in touch with you all, your teachers and the staff at F1 in Schools, to offer you an automatic Young STEM Leader Award. That means that all of the hard work in STEM that you've done, all of the brilliant leadership is now going to be formally acknowledged and recognised in an SCQF SQA credit rated qualification. So stay tuned, we'll be back in touch with you guys soon, and good luck for your remainder of the programme.
Wow, thank you for that, Graham, and what a thing for SSERC to agree to. So every team who goes through the Scottish regional finals is hopefully going to be looking forward to getting an automatic Young STEM Leader Award for their efforts.
That's really a great opportunity.
It really is. I mean, quite a generous offer as well, and this is something that we've been working on for a while. So stay tuned, as Graham said, and we'll be in touch with your teachers with a bit more information about those awards in the coming weeks and months. Now, you might be wondering how F1 in Schools works in terms of the classes. We talk about the classes a little bit with our entry class, our development class, our professional class. So we like to think of them as stepping stones. But let's find out a little bit more with one of our handy explainer videos. Formula 1 in Schools is split into 3 classes of entry: entry class, development class, and professional class. Think of these as stepping stones, much like Formula 3, Formula 2 and Formula 1.
At regional finals, entry, development and professional class teams compete alongside each other.
They share a few things in common in the competition.
For example, the competition format, which is the same for all classes. They all get the same time on track, with 4 races each.
The judging categories are the same, albeit some of the assessables vary in size. Where they differ, the technical regulations set out for each class.
Entry, development and professional class designed to different rules. Awards categories are slightly different, so teams get the chance to fight for awards in their own class. And progression opportunities to the UK national finals and beyond differ for each class. In entry class, teams are awarded points in 6 areas: scrutineering and aesthetics, design and engineering, a verbal presentation, a research mission to find out what's next in F1 in Schools, and the points for racing. A grand total of 480 points are up for grabs in entry class. Development and professional teams are awarded points in 7 areas, encompassing the design process and marketing activities needed to get to F1 in Schools. A grand total of 970 points are available for all teams. Entry class is the ideal starting point for F1 in schools for 11 to 14-year-olds for 1 year only. In entry class, teams compete for the chance to be regional champions, for the privilege to be invited to the UK national finals as a special guest. There's no cost to entry, so the only financial challenge to teams is to create their car. This must be manufactured in one of 3 ways. Either handmade using traditional workshop tools and skills from the F1 model block, 3D printed as a solid component part with just moving axles and wheels, or fully CNC machined using a 3D CAD file before being machined on equipment such as a Denford CNC router. Teams must produce a simple 5-page portfolio detailing the design and manufacture process of their car, a 5-minute verbal presentation to wow the judges with their journey as a team, and the option to create a team pit display for their area on race day.
Let's take a closer look at the dev class then, which is for 11 to 19-year-olds for 1 year only. Here cars are a step up from entry, but still some way short of the pro class rules.
Development class offers the first opportunity to progress to the World Finals. To get there, the team will need to become a UK national champion by making it through from the regional finals. There's a small charge of £75 to enter. Teams must make 1 CNC manufactured race car, 2 5-page portfolios, engineering drawings, a 5-minute verbal presentation, and a purpose-built marketing pit display.
The professional class represents the highest tier of F1 in schools. Here, competitors from 11 to 19 years can compete for as many years as they wish, with the ultimate goal to arrive at the F1 in schools World Finals. Accessibles are much the same as development class, but the pro class have 2 10-page portfolios to produce.
The top teams from both regional and national finals get the chance to progress for the ultimate dream of competing at the F1 in schools World Finals. Let's take a look at the cars then side by side. In F1 in schools, entry development to professional class cars share lots in common, but they also differ in some crucial ways. Let's start with weight. Entry class must start at 65 grams minimum, where development class get a small advantage from having a 60 gram minimum. Professional class can create the lightest cars with just a 50 gram minimum weight. In entry class, teams must start with a no-go zone, a minimum volume for the chassis of the vehicle. This comprises of a basic shape that the teams design their aerodynamic structures around in an effort to create a safe but fast race car. Development class teams must use a slightly modified no-go zone, allowing a bit more freedom for design. The professional class must simply include a virtual cargo, a much smaller volume which allows for much more freedom with the aerodynamic surfaces. Both the entry class and the development class use a standard F1 in schools wheel, whereas professional class get to design, test, modify and finesse their own custom wheels using any materials they see fit. Again, the entry and development class share a standard axle, while professional class can choose their own, with many teams choosing to run low friction bearings as well. All teams are powered by an 8-gram compressed air power pack. This, combined with the minimum weights, can lead to average speeds of 40 km an hour in entry class, up to 50 km an hour in the development class, and an eye-watering 75 km an hour in the professional class. Blink and you'll miss them as our teams race down the 20-metre F1 in schools track, but will any team have what it takes to break the 1-second barrier?
Well, a pretty comprehensive and impassioned delivery there. I mean, I don't know who that guy was, but he sounds like he's drunk a lot of Iron Brew. Nelson, we're getting to that point where we are going to go racing.
Exciting.
Are you ready?
I'm super ready.
We're going to do this, Nelson. It's time indeed to go racing. And first up on track, we're going to have our development class teams. So we're going to throw to the tech pad at this point. I'm going to have a quick look at the first 2 teams on track. So I believe Molly is in position. We're going to cut now to the tech pad. And Molly, talk us through these first 2 teams, please. So it's Vortex against the Flying Scots.
Well, from a first look at the 2 cars, they're fairly different, especially even looking at the car stats. The length of the Flying Scots is a considerable amount lower. The width is larger, however. The height's fairly similar, but the weight, the Flying Scots do have that little bit more weight, so that'll be interesting to see on the track. And looks-wise, they honestly are quite different, with the Flying Scots going for a more flat base and a seemingly absence of a rear wing, which will be interesting. Don't know if that's an aerodynamic decision, but we'll see how they go on the track. It'll be an exciting race.
Interesting, yeah. I mean, Nels, just looking at the differences in the cars, the design differences are massive. I mean, you can tell even with the car stats, these are two very, very different cars. I mean, are we expecting them to be very different in terms of speed, or can that sometimes be a bit of an illusion?
Well, I expect them to be quite different in terms of speed, because you have, I mean, the minimum weight in development class is 60 grams. So 4.4 grams there may just be what pushes the race for Vortex.
Absolutely, yeah. So there is a noticeable difference. I mean, Molly, is weight kind of like the enemy in F1 in schools? Is that what you're always chasing?
Yeah, so weight you look at quite a lot. We always look to get to the minimum weight as close as you can get. Just chasing that 60 grams, just above 60. Yeah. So that's what we're looking at. Vortex have hit it right on, so we're hoping for good things for Vortex. But yeah, it'll be an exciting race.
Yeah, they've obviously got it absolutely bang on. I mean, have you ever turned up to an event underweight and kind of gone, oh no, what are we going to do, and made some last minute adjustments?
Oh, all the time. It was always bringing that little bit of paint, add another sticker on, add another tiny bit of layer, getting it just up to the weight. Yeah. So it was all a bit last minute, a bit nerve wracking. But the weight's very important in the cars.
Yeah, crucial. But yeah, the things that you don't see in the event themselves, the last minute measures teams put in place. Nels, I can tell that you're eager to get on track and see the first cars race. Yes, shall we go out there and see the first two races? Let's go and see race number 1. Nels, I'm going to hand over to you. The track guys are ready, so let's have it. Race number 1.
So in race number 1, we have Vortex in lane 1 and the Flying Scots in lane 2. And they're off. So that was very close, but we have Team Vortex with a 1.238 taking it. But look how close he was to the Flying Scots.
Yeah, that is seriously close. I mean, first race you can tell, couldn't you? I mean, crossing the line, there wasn't a huge difference in it. So maybe all those weight differences, maybe the absence of the rear wing, Molly. I mean, I don't know how much drag does a wing like that have that Vortex have got?
The rear wing, you've got to look at it. It's the additional bits that will be used for aerodynamics wise, but then the Flying Scots could have done some testing and found out their car would be better without it. So yeah, all down to the car.
Cheeky little admission.
There's a lot of difficult decisions that the team needs to make during the design process. Of course, they need to follow the rules and regulations, but then they're also trying to design the fastest car possible. So that decision may make the car really fast, but does it really comply with all regulations? We'll see.
Mr. Rules and Regulations has said it. Right, let's head back out to the track for race number 2. Nelson, over to you.
So again in the same lane, so Team Vortex in lane number 1 and Team the Flying Scots in lane number 2.
There they go.
And there we go. We have Team Vortex taking it again with a 1.192.
There we go. I mean, a really quick time there. That is, under 1.2 seconds in the development class as well. That's pretty rapid.
Mark, can I call your attention to the split gate time?
Wow.
So we have an exact split gate time, and just to explain to you what the split gate does, so this is just a measuring tool that we have following the initial start gate that measures the cars that are passing by, because sometimes when they reach the split gate, one may be in front but actually can lose or win the race depending on their performance during the race.
Interesting. So the sector gate measures the cars a bit like a sector on a Formula 1 track. Measures part of the lap but not the whole lap. Interesting stuff,
so
right.
When they got to the split gate, they were exactly at the same time.
So Nelson, we've just seen 2 races. At this stage in the racing, the format goes that we have 2 races in the first set of lanes, and then we bring the cars back, we swap them over into the opposite lane. So each team races twice in each lane. Why exactly do we do that? Why don't we just race them in the same lane each time?
Well, to explain, Mark, it's basically every single team will race 4 times, but we race 2 times in each of the lanes to make it fair. Because some say that one of the lanes is better than the other one, so we want to make sure that the teams have the chance to race in each of the lanes.
Who would say a thing like that? Molly, lanes? Is there a difference?
Definitely a favourite. Everyone's got your favourite lane. Ours was personally lane 2. But it depends on the team, depends on the car, depends on the track, depends on the day. Everyone's got a favourite lane though.
Depends on a lot of things by the sound of it. Interesting to know. Well, yeah, go on lane 1 just for equality's sake. Nels, I think the guys on track are ready. I can see out there that they're waving thumbs up, yeah, which is good news. So let's head out onto the track now for race number 3.
So now we have the Flying Scots in lane number 1 and Team Vortex in lane number 2. There they go. So Team Vortex takes it with a 1.228. Not very far, the Flying Scots, so pretty good effort there.
No, really close indeed. Well, that was the third race out of 4 now. Let's see if the Flying Scots can make a bit of an advance on Vortex. I mean, there's some good times here so far, but let's find out what happens in our final race between these two teams in race number 4.
So final race. And lights out, and there they go. So we have Team Vortex with a 1.244 taking it again.
Wow.
But pretty good effort from the Flying Scots considering everything. I mean, it's fair to say the Vortex was the better team this time.
Well, the quicker car, definitely. I mean, don't forget, there's a lot more behind the scenes that obviously we don't see on the track. There's a lot more racing going on behind the scenes.
And of course, it's not about beating the other team on the track, because what the team should be looking for is to log in the best time possible, because it's going to be the average of the 4 races giving them the points.
Absolutely, Nels. Yeah, this is it. So, a lot goes on, like we've just said, in F1 in schools outside of the racing. So just to find out a little bit more about one of those areas, here's a quick video on what goes on with the enterprise judging. Enterprise judging forms a central part of a team's point score. Teams produce a portfolio, a team identity and a pit display worth 180 points. The judges are looking for evidence of project management, teamwork, sponsorship and marketing, an F1 in schools project evaluation and the presentation of a document, all counting towards the portfolio score. Team identity is scored on its own, while the pit display takes 3 categories: marketing, graphic design and actual content. With 3 separate assessments, it's a multimedia judging area. For the portfolio, development class produce a 5-page portfolio, where professional class produce a 10-page portfolio. With teams essentially creating their own businesses, our judges need to have experience of this too, with a wealth of experience coming from across industry, from business owners, entrepreneurs, to marketing and sponsorship specialists. Well, there you have it again. Good to hear about the enterprise judging, Nelson. We know the teams do so much kind of behind the scenes and working on their brand, working on their identity, working on the, all the sort of graphic communication side of things, as well as sponsorship and marketing. I'm going to bring Louise back in at this point. Hi Louise, welcome back.
Hi.
Louise, before, I know you've got loads of the enterprise stuff to sort of show us through what you've picked out from the teams. I mean, just for the people at home, first of all, let us know your history in F1 in schools. Where have you come from?
So myself and Molly first got involved in F1 in schools almost 4 years ago now. We competed at the Scottish Regional Finals at the beginning of 2018 as a part of a team called Team Accelerace. From here we then qualified for the UK National Finals, where we were crowned UK National Champions in development class. We then qualified to compete at the World Finals in Singapore, which was an incredible experience.
Wow, so actual World Finalists in Singapore, National Champions. I mean, Nels, if they don't know it, ain't worth knowing these two. So I think we've picked some cracking studio experts. Now, Louise, I know you've got some stuff to show us about the team's enterprise. So what has caught your eye?
Yeah, so we've picked out some of the things that really stuck out to us from some of the teams. So the first thing that we absolutely loved was Haste's logo. So logo is always the centre of team identity. It can be used to inspire everything else that the team does graphically. So we found this to be a really, really nice piece of graphic design. Their logo is quite unique, it stands out a lot, it catches the eye, and it ties in so well to their car and their uniforms and everything else that they've done. Something else that we found quite impressive was the Flying Scots. So they'd created this sponsorship proposal. Sponsorship is a crucial part of F1 in schools. We couldn't do it without sponsors. And so this was something that they created in order to try and attract new sponsors. So this was a document that outlined so much information about their team, their project, also different sponsorship packages, return on investment, everything that a prospective sponsor would need to know before getting involved in their project. Seeing something this extensive at the regionals level was just absolutely incredible. We loved it. Another thing that really caught our attention was from one of the professional class teams was Phoenix Racing. They created this very interesting breakdown of how they'd shared different responsibilities through their team. So you can see they've outlined crucial tasks such as sponsorship, social media, car design, and then from there they've gone through each of their team members and kind of suggested what percentage responsible each team member was for each task. This is, again, so impressive at a regionals level. Project management is crucial. There's no denying F1 in schools is a mammoth task. There's so much involved in it, And in order to get everything done, you need good project management, you need good tracking of tasks, you need people who are accountable for everything. So we absolutely love this. And then finally, something else that we just thought was amazing was Fibonacci's visuals. So throughout all of their work, we could see their incredible use of Blender and all of the renders that they created. So these could be seen in their folio, their car renders, and also their pit display. So they created a CAD model of their pit display, which they then animated and submitted for their verbal and their pit display.
Wow, Louise, thank you so much. You quite clearly got up and presented before. That was very eloquent and really detailed. I mean, there's some amazing work going on there, Nels.
Super impressed.
Yeah, I mean, just to pick up on a couple of things, the sponsorship side of things, so sponsorship proposals. Is sponsorship like one of the sort of the key areas in F1 in schools to get right? And if it is, what are you kind of chasing? Is it all about cash, or is it sometimes additional things, not just money?
So sponsorship is absolutely crucial at every level of F1 in schools, and a sponsor can be so many different things to the team. So yes, of course, you will need help with finances, covering costs such as entry fees, so you will need sponsors to provide funds for that. But also sponsors can help in so many other ways. So they can help with, for example, manufacturing. We had people help us make parts of our car. You can have people provide uniforms or other resources that you might need. Or they can be sponsors who share expertise and knowledge. So we worked with an aerodynamicist throughout every stage of car design, and they helped us by sharing everything that they knew, helping us to improve all of our work.
Oh, sounds amazing.
It does blow the mind a bit about how much the teams do behind the scenes, because obviously we see the cars on the track now, but we know all this work goes on, and just amazing. Thank you so much, Louise, for giving us a bit of an insight into what you've seen in the team's work that you can relate back to your own experiences. Wow. I mean, I think Louise should probably do our job, Nelson, but
well,
we're going to have to carry on. So in the best way we can possibly, let's bring some teams in, and I think let's go and see some more racing. We're going to throw to the tech pad. I think, Louise, you're still at the tech pad, so you're going to talk us through the next two teams rather. So we've got here Stray and Haste, of course, whose logo we're a big fan of. So Louise, what have you got?
Now I think this is going to be a really exciting matchup actually. If we look at their cars, we can see that their bodies are actually quite similar. In terms of aerodynamics, I think these cars will likely perform in a way that's quite similar. So we're going to have to really look at the small details here to determine who's going to win this race. Something that I think does stick out is that these are both quite heavy cars. The minimum weight for a dev class team is 60 grams, so both of these are over 70 grams. So maybe that will impact their race time, slow them down a bit, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, looking close. I mean, there's a huge difference in some of these measurements. I mean, the wheelbase for one, 108 millimeters on a Stray side, but just 91 on Haste. I mean, Nels, do you see lots of variation between the cars? These are still development class cars, but as a scrutineer, do you often see lots of different styles?
Yeah, there's lots of different styles. I mean, within the restrictions of development class, where they need to use the standard wheels and the standard axles, they cannot go crazy with bearings, but you can see, you can be very, there's going to be very different designs on the cars. These ones are going to be quite similar, but they are normally very different.
Well, let's find out, Nelson. We can go straight to the track now and find out how they get on head to head.
Right, so on lane 1 we have team Stray, and in lane 2 Haste. And there we have it.
Wow, that was close.
So team Stray got it with a 1.473. But look, we had discussed this before. The split time on Team Haste, they reached the split gate first. But actually, Team Stray managed to win the race.
That is interesting. So we've got a team accelerating quicker, but then being overtaken. So we've actually got genuine overtaking on F1 in schools.
Yes.
You heard it here first, folks.
This proves that the performance of the car allowed them to win the race.
Absolutely. Well, let's not hang about. Let's go and see race number 2.
So race number 2, same lane. So Team Stray in lane 1, and in lane 2 Team Haste. And then we have it with Team Stray also with a 1.459.
The times are so close though now. So we've got there
very close. Look at that.
Just 0.03 of a second between those finish times. 1.459 Stray and 1.489 Haste, so exactly 300.
I'm really excited for race 3 and 4.
Really excited. So at this point, of course, we bring the cars back, we swap them over, and I can see the guys on track out there busy doing that now at the speed of light. And I think we're ready to go for race number 3. So let's head back out to the racetrack here at F1 in Schools HQ and see race number 3.
So you can see now that we've swapped lanes. So Team Haste in lane 1, Team Stray in lane 2.
There they go.
And there we have it. So Team Astray taking it with a 1.481, but again, very, very close between both teams.
Absolutely, yeah. So these two really going head to head, and you can see from the finish line camera there, there's virtually nothing in it. I mean, we're seeing what, about 0.04 of a second, and it's basically
very, very
a
close.
couple of millimeters, isn't it? What all to play for in the last race. It still looks like a supremely close matchup. This. Let's head back to the track for the final race of this round.
Race number 4. Lights off, and there they go. So we have Team Astray again with a 1.463, but look, Team Haste not very far with 1.580.
Absolutely, yeah. And as we said at the beginning, Nels, the racing is not about win or lose. It's about the times you set, and of course those times then convert into points. So Haste and Astray both done a fantastic job there, so close, neck and neck. There'll be a similar point score, I think, for both teams. So yeah, well done and congratulations to both. Absolutely. So moving on, we can now take a look, Nelson, at our final standings leaderboard for the development class. Shall we take a look at that leaderboard?
Yes, please.
Let's have a look then, and we can see there, Vortex from the Lithgow Academy taking it first place with a 1.192 time. That's really quick, Nelson. I mean, that stands out to me.
Yeah, the weight of the car is making a big difference here, but yeah, that's a really good time, 1.192, so congratulations to Vortex.
Absolutely, yeah, so just hitting that 60 gram is really all the difference, isn't it? Wow, fantastic stuff. So, okay, I mean, on to the next set of races then, and we're going to go and see our professional class teams. At this point, I'm going to throw to the tech pad and Molly. Molly, I think you've got some words for us on the first two teams up in the professional class, so exciting times, and welcome back, Molly. Do you want to talk us through the first two teams? We've got Iconic Racing and Fibonacci.
So just looking at these to start off with, again, two very different looking cars, especially now we're in the professional class. There's a lot more freedom with stuff you can do. Even just looking at it from just a perspective of looking at the cars, the wheels are different materials. That's the first thing you notice. Professional class do a lot more with their wheels. But then we're looking at rear wings are another one to look at. The Fibonacci's is clearly on top of their car, whilst Iconics is sort of built into the car at the very end, sort of looking at a rear pod design. There's a very big front wing from Iconic as well, maybe looking at that being quite delicate, but we'll see both of them. I think the biggest thing actually we're looking at, Iconic's got a heavy car. So for professional class, we're looking at our minimum weight to be 50 grams. And Fibonacci is like just hitting that, but Iconics is a fair bit larger. So we'll see how the cars go in the race.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? And totally different design concepts. I mean, would you agree, Molly? Is Iconic Racing's kind of front and rear wing, is the idea that they're almost like connected shapes, because they are quite a similar sort of footprint, aren't they?
Yeah, so they're very similar shapes. We're looking at them being 3D printed, thin layers. They're very similar, maybe looking to keep that consistency throughout the car.
Yeah. Do we? I mean, yeah, Nelson. I mean, do we think these are going to stand the test of the racetrack?
Well, I don't know. I mean, for Iconic Racing, I think they had some issues with the manufacturing. I mean, sometimes, Mark, teams go really in the development that they do in terms of the design of their car takes them to very complex shapes. So they really go crazy on those wing designs. But sometimes extra testing is needed, especially on the track, to make sure that not only the parts are going to withstand the pressures of racing, but also the deceleration that it's quite intense. So for example, we had to, during scrutineering, we had to reinforce a little bit of Iconic's front wing due to being a little bit too fragile. But let's see how we race it.
Absolutely. Well, let's head to the track, Nelson, and I'm going to hand over to you for the commentary of this one. So race number 1.
So we have Iconic Racing in lane 1 and Fibonacci in lane 2. So there we go.
In they go. Oh, Nelson. Now, something looked to have happened there. Have we got any idea from the track guys what's happened?
So we have Fibonacci with a 1.113, and Iconic Racing with 1.510. But I have to say, Mark, that something happened with the Iconic Racing's car as soon as he hit the deceleration system. So they must be connected with how fragile that front wing was.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, looking on the image there now, so you can see that there is a bit of either the front or the rear wing just left in the deceleration zone there. So clearly some fixes going on there out on track. I mean, Nelson, at this point in time, if a car is broken at the end of the track, what is the procedure? What happens?
So if a car is broken in terms of the rules and regulations, you in order not to have a penalty, you need to fix it in about 30 seconds.
Okay.
But then you can still continue to fix it after the 30 seconds, but you're going to have a 5-point penalty if it takes up to 2 minutes. If after the 2 minutes you cannot really fix the car, the team will just forfeit the rest of the races. But our amazing team of judges is working really hard on the car to try and fix it. So with the help of super glue and a little bit of really strong tape, I'm hearing that they are able to fix the car in order to race again. So that's quite amazing.
Incredible stuff. So the breakage must have been significant to need fixing, but the guys have managed to get it back together. F1 in Schools, sponsored so often by Superglue. Excellent stuff. Well, I think we are ready to go back on track, Nelson. You've predicted correctly that the guys are ready, and we can now head to the track for race number 2.
So for race number 2, again, in the same lane, we have Iconic Racing and Fibonacci in lane 2.
Will the superglue hold?
And there we go. So Fibonacci take it with a 1.125 and Iconic Racing with a very similar time with a 1.521. It's important to say, Mark, here that for safety reasons, and that's the only reason, we've decided to remove the standard and official deceleration system from lane 1. And that was because the judges noticed that when the car hit the official deceleration system, some bits flew off. So in order to reduce risk to our judges on the track, for this one, we've decided to replace that acceleration system with towels, but only on this one.
Interesting, and thank you for clearing that up, Nelson. That is a really interesting point to mention. So, yeah, interesting point to see on track. The deceleration system, obviously, we're not sure that the car is going to withstand that impact, so they swapped it out quite cleverly for the towel system.
The official deceleration system is still the system that's going to be used for the remaining race.
Sure, fantastic. Well, at this point, obviously, the track judges would be removing the cars, swapping them over, and I think we can go live again to the track start, where we're ready for race number 3, where I believe the iconic car has indeed survived.
So yes, the fixing...
there it is, still going strong.
With a little bit of extra tape.
Powered by tape and glue.
Fibonacci in lane 2 Iconic Racing, and there we go. So Fibonacci took it with a 1.146, and again a very consistent time from Team Iconic Racing. And to be fair, Mark, with the considerable damage that they have sustained, it's quite still a good time.
It certainly is. We can see it arriving on its side there at the end, but still across the line in one piece, I think. So it's.
I have to say that the design of those front wings and rear wings was quite amazing. So congratulations for them for trying. I mean, the only thing that the car needs now is to be a little bit stronger and a little bit lighter.
Perhaps, yeah, absolutely. I mean, some really interesting design quirks there. I think we saw a central bearing system, which has never been, we've never seen before.
Aluminium wheels. Yeah. So I guess one of the problems was the aluminium wheels were a little bit too thick, guys. But next time, just a little bit thinner. Maybe consider some carbon fiber.
Whoa, you heard it here from the master of measurements. There it is. Well, I think we can head back for the final race, Nelson. So if you want to talk us through race number 4, here they are.
So again, same lanes, Fibonacci in lane 1 and Iconic Racing in lane 2. And there we go. And we have Fibonacci taking it with a 1.155, probably the best time yet, and Iconic Racing with a 1.594. Again, very consistent in that performance.
That is that's a strong time. I mean, 1.15. I think it is quicker than the Vortex time set in the development class, and it's just showing that the professional class have got that little bit of extra design potential, with the aerodynamic surfaces, with the body being not quite as restricted.
And the weight difference. Let's not forget that for development class there's 60 grams, and for professional class, 50 grams now.
Absolutely, crucial weight difference there. Now, we've heard a bit about the enterprise side of F1 in Schools, but we know, and just talking about it there, picking up on the conversation we've had now, a whole massive avenue that the teams go down is researching the design and engineering side of F1 in Schools. So here's just a little bit of an explainer to give you a bit more information on what the teams get up to. Design and engineering sits at the heart of F1 in Schools. Teams produce a portfolio worth 180 points. The competition judges are looking for evidence of design concepts, 3D modelling, computer-aided analysis or CAA, the use of CAD/CAM, computer-aided design and manufacture, the manufacturing and assembly of the car, the research and development journey a team has gone on, testing processes such as CFD or computational fluid dynamics, the design process evaluation and the presentation of the team's document. Portfolios are presented in A3 format, with development class producing a 5-page portfolio and professional class producing 10-page portfolios.
Such high-quality work demands highly qualified judges. The engineering sector provides many of its finest minds to help judge F1 in schools, with a stellar cast of names from Formula One, the automotive industry, aerospace industry and beyond.
Well, there we go, we've heard it. So engineering judging really is kind of at the heart of the process for the teams. And I know, Molly, you've been taking a really close look at what the teams have done. So, Molly, talk us through your thoughts. I mean, what have you picked out in the teams who are competing here?
Yeah, so we've looked closely at all the engineering folios that all the teams from development and professional have submitted. Absolutely impressive work from all of them, just to start off. But we've picked out some of the bits that we thought just had that little bit of an edge and new things that we haven't seen before. So looking into the development class, we saw a bit of a more unique bit of testing pertaining to the track clearance. This was done by Vortex, the development class, and they found that for their design, the closer that the bottom of the car was to the track, the faster it would go. This is a more unique bit of testing. We don't see that as much, but it's very important, although we need to make sure that the car doesn't get too close to the track, because then we'll look at things like friction, the car will slow down. But yeah, definitely clearance testing, very important. The lower the car is, the better. We also saw that Astray's car, their development had very angular shapes. This is very new. This is things that we haven't seen before in development, new concepts. Very interesting to see them try out new things. Their current car still had a fairly unique look to it, large flat front, as we saw in their races earlier. Maybe didn't work as well as they would have thought it would, but it's really exciting to see them put new concepts in. That's what we love about F1 in schools. All the new concepts, the innovation, new ideas that people try out. Moving on to the professional class, we saw that Enhance took a different approach to the animal-inspired cars that we normally get in the term biomimicry. By looking at things, instead of birds, as we normally see, like kingfishers, they considered aquatic animals instead. One of the most interesting ones we see here is one of their first development pieces, the whale. This included a very large rounded top. So the front, there's complete absence of a front wing, but it really looked at that teardrop idea where there's a large rounded front, breaks the air nice and gently and comes back to a point at the end where the airflow nice over the car. This is a really interesting development piece, things that we've not really seen before at all. Obviously the car developed a bit more due to regulations, due to testing, but it's really nice to see new ideas coming from that development. We also looked at Paxson Fusion, who looked at the idea of producing zero friction magnetic bearings. This is a really amazing idea that we've got here. This is like, if you've seen the maglev trains, they've got things where the trains are actually levitating due to magnetic fields. There's a repelling force and an attracting force that actually makes the trains levitate above the tracks. These trains are some of the fastest we see in the world, so hopefully Paxson Fusion we're looking to replicate that sort of thing. Due to the no friction with the track, it looks amazing. So their idea was having a bearing that the axle just floats in the middle and doesn't touch the bearing at all, producing no friction. Wow. They unfortunately didn't get to the chance to implement this into their design this year, but hopefully they'll continue this forward in the future. We really look forward to seeing this. It's absolutely new technology and it sounds amazing. The amount of work they've put into it is absolutely astounding. Finally, we're seeing Iconic Racing, who did another interesting bit of testing, where they looked at the force of the CO2 cartridge over time. As we can see, the thrust of the CO2 cartridge absolutely fires up at the start in that just split second, and it peters down quite suddenly. But so we have to look at the teams maintaining that thrust over the time their car travels down the track, as that's the only thing they've got to keep their car going. The team also looked into other forces acting on the car, because with the thrust at the start, you want to keep your car maintaining that heavy speed all the way along till the end of the track. So they had to look at things like friction, drag and downforce, which would pull their car back, slow it down. So they wanted to minimise that as much as they possibly could. But yeah, we're absolutely so impressed with all the stuff the teams have done this year. The engineering is like a new class, especially for regionals. We don't see this stuff like this normally. This is like nationals, maybe even world level. It's absolutely astounding what we've seen.
Wow, Molly, thank you so much. I mean, two things for me stand out there, Nelson. I forgot for a second that we were in an F1 in Schools regional. Yeah. Maglev trains and whales. What on earth is going on? Molly, the whale idea, I mean, Nelson was just boiling over at that point because he was thinking, what, no wings? But how does the whale concept work? What's it based on?
So again, it's that idea of biomimicry. Teams normally go for bird designs because like we use the kingfisher's beak that brings the car, it's got a more pointy front, but they've gone for the exact opposite, a large rounded front, because as we've seen, we've talked to aerodynamicists that have told us the teardrop shape is very important, where it has a large rounded front that breaks into the air very softly, and it pulls it right back into a point at the end, makes the car faster overall. So normally teams look at this just at the end of their car, but Enhance looked at this throughout the entire car design. Definitely an interesting development point. I don't think I've seen it before at all.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen it before either, and I think Nelson's probably thinking,
you know what? I just want to see cars with different shapes. Bring them on, because I'm here to scrutineer them.
It's interesting though, because I mean, think about it. That is the sort of the profile of a wing, isn't it? With the leading edge a little bit more round, the trailing edge being a bit of a point. So the concept there is sound. I mean, wow, awesome bit of analysis. Thank you, Molly, for that, and really it's quite fascinating. A bit scary actually to hear what the teams are up to, Nelson. So. Professional class in Scotland, I mean, yeah, take a bow. You've done amazingly. I think we are ready to go and have a look at the next two teams on track, Nelson, and I think Louise is ready on the tech pad to talk us through the next two teams. So Louise, I'm going to throw to you now. Welcome back in. We've got Enhance Racing, who didn't decide to go with the whale in the idea. In the end, they've gone for the sort of pointed effect car, but we've got Enhance up against Paxson Fusion. What have you got on these two?
So yet again, another very interesting matchup. I think looking at the stats, what's quite striking is that these are both very compact cars, specifically looking at the length. So both teams are very close, and actually Enhance are on the minimum car length. So that's something that we don't typically see so much. Teams tend to go for a longer car, well over 200 millimeters. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes on the track.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, these two look really finely poised, don't they, Nelson? I think you've seen both cars up close and personally in scrutineering. How do they look?
They look, I mean, they look great.
Yeah.
I just want to point out how difficult it is to present a car on the 50.0 range.
Yeah, that's remarkable.
So that's the minimum. I mean, we all know that the closest we can get to the minimum weight, the potential to be fast is there. So well done.
Absolutely, and we heard from the girls how the teams are often just applying those tiny little bits of extra paint or glue or stickers at the end at the event, literally to submit their cars on minimum weight. Of course, Paxson Fusion couldn't be here to do that. So they've got that weight absolutely bang on in school.
So they must have had a really professional scale in school, because he was bang on.
Absolutely. Well, let's head out to the track, Nelson. You can talk us through race number 1.
Right, so in lane number 1 we have Enhanced Racing, and in lane number 2 we have Paxson Fusion. So let's see. And they're off. So we have Paxson Fusion taking it with a 1.106, but look at that difference between Enhanced Racing and Paxson.
No,
really, really close.
It's 0.02 of a second.
Yeah, it's
1.108 in lane 1, 1.106 in lane 2. Paxson Fusion just by, I mean, you couldn't even measure that on the track.
It can go either way on the next race.
Minuscule. Well, let's head out there and see what's happening for the next race. The guys have brought the cars back, I think, and we're ready to head for race 2. So Nels, take it away.
So same lane, let's remember here. So Enhance still in lane 1, Paxson is still in lane 2. And there they go. Really, really close. Let's see, with Enhanced Racing taking it with a 1.111 and against a 1.134. So you see a little bit of difference there on the cars now in terms of performance. And that just means, again, like we have discussed before, that the performance of the cars is really affected by the pressures that they suffer during racing.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, you can tell there, Paxson Fusion 1.134. I mean, is that, Louise, is that something that happens over the duration of the races? Do the cars get sometimes quicker, sometimes slower?
Yeah, so it can really change a lot from team to team, but I'd say pretty much everyone that you would ask would say that their car performance does kind of vary from race to race. So for us, we always found that our cars kind of got a little bit weaker. They maybe started off faster, but as kind of the wheels would wear down, the bearings might get a bit off. Then you see that the times start to slow down a wee bit, but it can really change. Some teams will suddenly get a really fast race after a couple of rounds, so it depends.
Interesting. Well, we'll have to keep our eye on this one, Nelson. I think we're ready to head back to the track, so let's go and head over there now. Nelson, you can talk us through it.
Yeah, so let's remember that we now swapped lanes. So Paxson Fusion is now in lane 1 and Enhanced Racing in lane 2.
Oh, look at it, you can barely.
And there we go, we have Paxson taking it with a 1.133 against Enhanced with a 1.156.
These two are still closely matched.
That's really close.
You'd still have to get a super accurate ruler out and work out the distance between those at the end. I mean, it looks like there's just a little bit of damage there, Nels, from the split screen at the bottom there, from the freeze frame.
Yeah, I think in enhanced racing, the wheels were coming off of the bearing, but that was a really easy fix. It was just fitting them again. Again, this is just one of the little engineering points that the team can get their manufacturing better, like finding a system that the wheel will just prevent from coming off.
And of course we know that this is the kind of thing that the guys on track can repair quickly, as long as it's within the 2-minute limit and the team doesn't suffer a penalty.
I'm hearing that it's fixed.
Fantastic. Well, let's head back out onto the track then for the final race in this round.
So final race, race number 4. Cars looking great on the track, by the way.
They do look fantastic.
And they're off. And Paxton Fusion taking it with a 1.122. You could see again the wheel coming off on lane 2, but that's an easy repair, and it was only after the finish.
Of course. So the difference here is if the car finishes the race in one piece, but then there's an issue in the brushes, the race time is fine.
But if a car didn't arrive as it started, it would be a did not finish. But in this case, all good.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you for that, Nelson. Right, I think we're ready then to head to the track again for the last time. But before we do so, we're going to head to the tech pad. And Molly, you've got some information for us on the final team out on track who are racing the mysterious invisible team in lane 2. So it's just Phoenix Racing from Montefiore High School. So
yeah, we're just looking at this one car this time. I think just straight away, the most interesting parts of this car are the wings. We looked at the front wing of the car, and they had a really interesting attachment system. It attaches underneath the car instead of right at the front of the car as most cars do, which is really interesting. Then looking at the rear wing, it really stands out. Comes up from the sides of the rear pods and has almost like a shelter over the top over the CO2 cartridge. It'll be really interesting to see how this works out. Again, Phoenix Racing going for a bit of a lower weight to the car at 52.6 grams. Not quite down at the minimum, but fairly low. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, interesting looking design. I mean, there's lots going on at the front here as well. I've noticed this sort of sculpting of the nose underneath. There's quite a lot of little channels going on there. I mean, the rear wing is the thing that sticks out. I mean, you mentioned shelter. My mind was going to bus shelters then, and a little sort of tent roofs. But yeah, I mean, interesting style car. Nels, gonna call it? Do you think this has got speed in it?
Well, it's close to the 50 grams, so I hope so.
It is, yeah.
Let's see when we in the end we'll compare it with all the other ones.
Well, let's see. I mean, just before we do go on track, obviously the car is racing against nobody in lane 2. I mean, Molly, is this something that the teams would often look forward to, or is it something that you'd rather avoid, or is it totally down to the team?
Really depends on the team, honestly. So we've seen teams be excited about this, teams like, oh, maybe not, because some teams really want that competitive edge, feeling it against another car. You want to win your race, when it doesn't really matter too much if you win the race or not. Maybe Phoenix Racing would have liked to race against somebody. Maybe they'll think of it as an advantage, there not being another car there, maybe CO2, there's just maybe a bit of turbulence in the track. We'll have to see how it goes.
Interesting, yeah, so no turbulence in the opposite lane. Interesting, could be an advantage. Well, Nels, I think we're ready out on track. You're going to call the shots, so we're going to head there now and find out what happens in race number 1.
So we're starting in lane 1, so we're about to see the race in lane 1. All lights go on, and there he goes.
It looks quick.
So we had a...
So, of course, just to mention, Nelson, because there's no car in lane 2, the computer's just waiting to check that there's no finish in lane 2. And of course, now that it's happened, we've got a time which is...
It's a 1.224. Exactly, so the system was just waiting to see if there was a car finishing the race on the other lane to give us the information.
Yeah, just a little bit of a delay while the computer goes, is there a car finishing? No, there isn't. Here's the race time for Phoenix Racing, so 1.224. Good effort in the first race. Let's have...
Not a bad time?
No, not at all. Let's head back out to track for race number 2.
So again in the same lane, Phoenix Racing. Looking great on the track. Let's go off. And there we have it. So we just need to wait a little bit.
Yeah, just wait for the computer to give us the final answer, which is, of course, there's no car in lane 2.
And there we go, with a time of a 1.187, so improving a little bit there.
Interesting, yeah, so going quicker in race 2. So maybe we talked about with the girls, you know, cars sometimes getting worn out, going slower. I mean, going faster, Molly, is that a thing you've encountered before?
Oh yeah, definitely, especially in the professional class, because we have things like the bearings and the wheels are a big factor of it. So maybe a bearing just slipped into place, the wheels aligned a bit more of you know how in F1 teams warm up and they do they warm up the tyres. It's that sort of thing. Things will maybe loosen up a bit. Things go better for them.
Interesting. So warming up the car, Nelson. Well, I think the car has been replaced onto lane 2, and I think we're ready to go out to the track again for race number 3.
Race number 3 now with Phoenix Racing in lane 2. Now let's see if there's a massive difference between them.
Yeah, this will be interesting to see. So of course we're just going to wait for the time to come through, and yeah, of course. So forget the time exactly, Nelson. It was in the 1.2s, was it?
It's been a long day.
It's been a very long day, Nelson.
But there we have it.
Soon find out. There it is.
1.213. Phoenix Racing again, very consistent on the track.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 1.213 and a very decent time. That bus shelter seems to be working a treat, Molly, doing its thing.
The final race then.
This is it. This is it, Nelson. The final race of the day. So Phoenix Racing, your car has been taken back to the start and officially out there. They are ready. Nelson, are you ready to commentate on this last race?
Ready.
Let's do this. Race number 4.
I love the colour, by the way. Red.
Matches the branding perfectly, doesn't it? There it goes.
And then we have it.
We have our final race complete.
Wait a couple of seconds for the results.
Just to add to the tension.
And with a 1.263, that's it. Well done, Phoenix Racing. 4 races done.
Yeah, congratulations. I mean, 4 finishes, no damage. Of course, that is a noteworthy thing to say, especially with the wing as it was. I mean, I was wondering, Molly, you know, that wing, is it something that's just going to get snapped off, but it seems strong enough in the end?
Yeah, seems very strong. It's a bit interesting coming up from the rear pods. Maybe it could have snapped off, but I think the big surface area, I think it made it thick and stick together, very stable.
Yeah, absolutely. So good quality 3D printing there. Well, Nelson, that is, of course, the end of the racing today. Let's have a quick recap on the final times in the professional class. Let's head to our leaderboard and see. And there it is, folks. We've got in first position, it's Paxson Fusion from Montefiore High School.
Look at that difference between first and second.
You took the words out of my mouth, Nelson, there. It is too tight to call it. 0.02 of a second separating the top 2 teams there. I mean, it couldn't have been, well, it could have been closer by 1,000th of a second, but that is about as close as we ever see, isn't it?
One thing that I need to remind the teams is, despite the times that they're seeing in the leaderboard, in order to win the fastest car award, the car needs to be compliant with performance regulations.
It does, Mr. Measurements himself has said it, folks.
Regulations.
There they are. Well, let's have a quick final check of the overall leaderboard then. So all the teams on the board, of course, Paxson Fusion taking it with a 1.106. And a good showing there from the dev class teams. I think we should just point out, and Molly and Louise were saying just off camera that, yeah, Vortex's time 1.192, really close to the pro class there. 1.187 from Phoenix, so really only 0.05 of a second in time. So really well done to everybody, folks. And I mean, incredible effort from everyone there. I think from all of us here, we did give one at the start of the show, but should we give another round of applause for all of our teams? From the Scotland teams, for the Scotland teams from us, it's a massive well done. Congratulations, everybody. Nels, you've referred to it a few times throughout the show. The awards will be coming out soon, so join us back again for the awards, folks. But again, well done, congratulations, and we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.